They're just doing it for attention. We've all heard it, or maybe we've even said it. But here's the truth. If someone is seeking attention, it's because they need it. And when we dismiss the need, we're not managing behavior, we're neglecting connection. If you are caring for someone else, whether paid or unpaid, and no matter how many hours you do it, did you realise that you may be missing out on thousands of pounds of discounts for things that you may use every day? The Able to Care podcast is proud to be sponsored by the UK's #1 carers card. Started by two best friends who recognise that carers deserve better and are 100% committed to helping to change the lives of all carers and bringing them together as a strong community. Carers Card UK provides support, recognition and rewards. It offers reassurance by providing an ID card that helps access emergency information when needed, while also unlocking discounts, a wellbeing hub, a carers circle tool and a community through their app. All of this for less than the price of a box of chocolates a year. There are discounts on gym membership, days out, electrical goods, clothing and even glasses. Let others know you care while taking a little care of yourself with an ID card you can be proud of. Visit carerscarduk.co.uk/promo code/able to care today to order yours. Hello and welcome back to the Able to Care podcast. I'm your host, Andy Baker, and today we're going to be dismantling one of the most damaging labels we use in care education and parenting, the term attention seeking. Now, it's one of the things that I'm looking at early on when I'm teaching my courses is getting people to think about the language we use. And attention seeking is sometimes thrown around like a diagnosis, as if wanting connection is some kind of flaw. But humans are wired for attention. From the moment we're born, we survive because somebody notices us. We're pre-programmed to want human attention and require human interaction to be able to survive. So if anybody, child or adult, is seeking attention, our first job is to understand what is it they're needing? Why are they needing attention this moment? Today, we'll break down the science of attention as a basic human need, the harm this label causes, and practical ways to respond without reinforcing negative patterns. So we'll start off and we'll look at some elements here of the science of attention as for survival. We'll look at how the attention-seeking label actually damages relationships and what to do instead when we see attention-seeking behavior as we label it as. But why is this important? When we label behavior just attention-seeking, we're just ignoring it, or worse, punishing it. And that's dangerous for two reasons. It's so easy, isn't it, that when somebody is behaving in a way that we perceive as negative and we think they're doing it for attention, our instinct is just ignore it. They're just doing it for attention. But the thing is, it's not giving them any other tools of how to get that attention appropriately. So we're often going to find we're just going to escalate inappropriate strategies rather than actually giving them and teaching them skills that they need. Humans need attention. So from a neurobiological point of view, in the Neuroscience of Human Relationships by Dr. Lois Cozzoloni, sorry if I pronounced that name wrong, he explains that our brains are, we are social organs. We are environment expectant and environment reliant. And from the moment we're born, we're needing that attention and interaction. Things like mirror neurons are developed by engaging with caregivers, and they smile, we smile, and we're reading facial expressions and we're learning everything about who we are, who other people are, who we can trust, who we can't. Attention isn't a luxury, it's a neurological requirement for our brains to develop properly. In the 1950s, John Bowlby, with attachment theory, showed that consistent, warm attention is foundational for emotional security. The old mentality of letting a child cry out, that giving them attention will make them feel mollycoddled and actually reduce their confidence, was completely shifted, and all experiments show it's completely the opposite. That when a person experiences positive attention and attachment and connection, they build trust, they build a secure base, meaning they actually feel more confident to explore the world, more confident to go and achieve things because they know they've got a safe place to go back to. As I've said many times on the podcast, the opposite to anxiety is not calm, it's trust. If I feel I've got people around me that I can trust, I'm going to feel safer. Without it, we experience distress and we'll act then to try and feel safer. I always go back and I remember a very early study that I remember reading. It was after I'd been a victim of a crime and I reflected back on it. And most people, after they've been a victim of a crime, are more likely to call their mum or their partner than the police. Because it is instinct in that moment to attention seek somebody that you trust, somebody you feel connected to, because it helps. It's a most effective way of our brains regulating and calming before we're able to think logically and rationally. And in trauma research, Dr. Bruce Perry's work highlights that for individuals with insecure or disrupted attachment, attention seeking can be an urgent survival strategy, although it often comes across like it's a form of manipulation, but it's just they're trying to survive. The same as a young gazelle on the savannah, if mum spots a cheetah, the young gazelle doesn't run, it gets closer to mum to start off with to help it to feel safe. When we're judging this attention-seeking behavior, I often put it like, we now understand that attention or attachment is as vital for human survival and well-being as food and water and many of the other things that we get to do from a survival point of view and for safety and security. But I still hear people going, oh, just ignore them. But if you had let's say, we had an individual who was asking repetitive questions, as an example. They kept asking the same question over and over again, even though you've already given them the answer. And you're thinking they're doing that to wind me up, but they're not. They're doing it because they require some form of validation, some form of attention. You're obviously not answering the question they needed. They just didn't know what the right question was or is. But if we just just ignore them and just doing it for attention. But if now we had a person who didn't know how to get food, who hadn't eaten all day, and they were wandering behind you going, please, can I get something to eat? I don't think many of us would just turn around and go, just ignore them. They're just starving. So why do we do that when it comes to attention? There's another thing that some of you maybe can relate to. All of us sometimes display inappropriate behavior to get attention, because sometimes bad attention is better than no attention at all. So let's say when you come home, usually there is a set pattern or predictability as far as your partner is concerned, for instance. So you come home and they come downstairs and you have a chat together. They greet you to start off with and you start your evening. Well, on this particular evening, rather than the usual greeting and the sitting down, having a drink and having a catch up, whatever it is, you walk in, you shout out, hey, I'm home. And you just get an ignored or all right. And that's it. They don't come down. They don't greet. They don't follow that same ritual as far as giving you that attachment connection that you sometimes are used to and feel is what you need to start your evening. Now, some of you will go upstairs and check they're okay and why they're stepping out that normal routine. Others will just kind of shout up the stairs, fine, put the kettle on myself, shall I? Sometimes we display negative behavior to get some level of attention because being ignored or feeling like we don't exist is slightly painful. We have to look at this from an evolutionary point of view. Being ignored or being no attachments would have meant death once upon a time. So this is still really important for human beings that we need it. So starting off, what can we do instead? How can we change our mindset towards it? Because the other thing is it tricks us into old logic parenting as well. Attention seeking is synonymous with, so just ignore it. But language matters. Change that language. Change it from attention seeking, which implies some level of manipulation, and change it over to either attachment needing or connection seeking. It reminds us that it's about relationships, about a need. It's about something that a person should get to some degree or another in their life at some point. Also look at the timing. What seems to be triggering this need for attachment and connection at this particular point? When does this tend to occur? Is it triggered by transitions or stress or when a person's feeling excluded? Do there seem to be certain antecedents that happen as a result of it? So it always happens at particular times. Can you recognize how a person might look the moment before they're starting to engage in that attention-seeking or connection-seeking behavior? We also can then start to look at things proactively. If we know that somebody needs some form of attention, predictability reduces distress. Predictability increases confidence and trust that something's going to happen. So maybe we could do pre-planned time where, hey, later on, me and you are going to spend 10 minutes of doing intense one-to-one time. We're going to play this game. We're going to watch telly together. We're going to do this. And it's scheduled in to allow them to know that the attention or the attachment is coming. A bit like if I'm really hungry and you know that a meal is only going to be like half an hour away, I can wait. I can hold on But if I don't know when the food's coming, I'm going to want to eat straight away. Think of it exactly the same way. Start treating attention like you would do food. Overeating isn't good for somebody, but they still need it to survive. And it's good quality attention that the person needs. Bad attention shouldn't be the prerequisite. I'll tell you a story, actually. I worked with an individual that when they were being ignored, they often used to start slamming a head on the table as hard as they possibly could. And it worked because the staff came running. Now, the instinct is to kind of just ignore it, just doing it for attention. But the problem is, if we just ignored it, one, there was a danger of them continuing that behavior and causing themselves harm. But also, we weren't teaching them any other way to get the attention. So what we needed to do is show them that's not the way to get the attention and go kind of minimal response on that. But we also needed to teach them what is the way to get the attention that they need. I'll give you another scenario, actually. This was at home where they were trying to help this gentleman spend more time in the communal areas, but he wanted to be around the staff an awful lot. But sometimes he was getting in other people's way, or he was kind of like tripping over the staff accidentally, and he'd nearly got hurt a couple of times because the staff didn't realize he was there and kind of turn around quickly on him and stuff. What I noticed when I was there, every time they saw him in the corridor, they'd kind of engage with him and redirect him towards one of the communal areas. And every time he was in the corridor again, they'd re-engage and move him to a communal area. But when he was in the communal areas, nobody paid him any attention. So which area was he getting more attention from? Not in where they want him to be, where they didn't want him to be. So straight away, what they needed to do is give him more attention when he was in the communal areas than when he was out on the floor. Hopefully that makes sense. If someone only gets your full focus when they act out, then you're training them to escalate to be seen. Schedule micro moments of connection before the need spikes. Set in plans. Give them those kind of something to look forward to as far as connection time is concerned. Acknowledge the need before addressing the behavior as well. So an example could be, I see you might need me right now. Let's find out a way to do that without shouting. So if you recognize they're addressing the behavior, recognize that the behavior is for attention seeking or attachment seeking, we connect before we correct or redirect. Okay. So I can see you really need me right now. I can see that maybe you're something about it now. You must be feeling a little anxious because you're definitely wanting my attention right now. But let's see if we can find a way of doing that where we're doing something nice together. Okay. So we can refer to the feelings and validate, helping them to understand themselves as far as that, connection first, helping them as far as empathic commentary is concerned, and then lead them into what they should be doing or what would be more beneficial for them and for you to gain the attention they're looking for. Also, teach alternative strategies. So if you're finding they're using some form of maladaptive behavior to gain attention, then rather than punishing them for using or criticizing or shaming or blaming for using the one that you don't think should be appropriate, well, what should they do? What is how you want them to get the attention? They need the attention, but we want to teach them adaptive rather than maladaptive tools to be able to do it. And no matter what it is, if somebody's doing it, I need help, then can they just go and learn to be able to ask, can I get some help? And maybe you could build it in case of, do you need help straight away? Or can it be 10 minutes? Or is it just later on today at some point? And help them to manage those different rules as far as when is the attention needed? How long can they delay that gratification for? Whether it's asking, can you play with me? Can it ask you, can I talk to you for a minute? Can you say, even getting them to encourage and communicate, to say, I'm feeling left out in this moment. The more people are able to communicate it rather than acting out in a maladaptive way, the better for them as far as long-term is concerned and how they manage in other environments. I know some people are going to go, but isn't that rewarding the negative behavior? But sometimes meeting a legitimate need isn't rewarding bad behavior. It's removing the reason for the behavior in the first place. We're so busy focusing on the behavior, we forget about the needs of the person sometimes. The other thing is that people struggle with is we can't just give them attention all the time, but we don't need constant attention. It's amazing how a little bit of attention, there's a rule, and I think we've spoken about it on other podcasts, that just 10 minutes of genuine one-to-one positive connection with a parent each evening can sustain a child for a significant period of time. 10 minutes where they just get that one-to-one attention, not sharing it with a sibling, not sharing it with electronics, not sharing it with anything or anybody else. Just getting that intense one-to-one time of fun, connection, somebody being genuinely interested in, can last for a period of time afterwards. It's about predictability and quality rather than just constant. I know there is also scripts some people have of shouldn't they just be able to entertain themselves, especially around children? Shouldn't they just be able to entertain themselves? I remember so often going to my mum sometimes going, I'm bored. And when she suggested something, I'd go, no, that sounds boring. She'd suggest something else. I'd go, no, that's boring too. Because it wasn't really, I wanted something to do. I wanted connection. I wanted to play. I wanted somebody to talk to. I wanted somebody to share the experience with of whatever I was doing. That's what felt disconnecting rather than interest. It was I was looking for connection. So independence grows from secure attachment. Meeting connection needs now builds the capacity for independence later. If I know if I need you, you'll be there, then I can better cope with not needing you later. So this week, when you catch yourself thinking they're just attention seeking, stop and reframe it. They're seeking connection. They need help. They need support. There is something that they're missing that a person will potentially help them and provide them with. So can you look at the need first? Notice when it happens and see what changes if you meet the need before the behavior has to shout out for it. So who in your environment may be labeled as attention seeking? And what would happen if you changed how you responded for just 1 week?